In this video, we're going to take a look at something called conditional formatting in Excel. Conditional formatting is on the Home tab. It's in the Styles group right here. And what conditional formatting does is it changes the format of the data in a cell depending on the value that happens to be in the cell. So it's kind of like you're tacking an if statement on saying, if this is true about the number that's in the cell, then this is the way I want you to format it. This is a feature of Excel that I think is probably of limited usefulness. If you're looking to pick out certain values in here, rather than using colors to pick them out or icons, we'll see what some of the options are in a minute. Rather than doing that, if you just want to see some that are within a certain range, let's say you're looking for all of the low scores, for example, you could do a filter on that. You'd also do a sort and just look at one end of the list. So sorting and filtering also lets you identify particular values in your data, and that's basically what conditional formatting does as well. So let's take a look at some of the options for conditional formatting. Okay, so let's first of all select the numbers here. So let's say we're concerned about identifying certain numbers in column C. Now we got a relatively short list here, but if you had a longer list, it might be a little bit harder to pick numbers out. So let's go to our conditional formatting button up here and let's see what some of our options are. I'm going to skip the first two here and we'll come back to the first one. And we're going to look at data bars. Okay, and we've got 12 options here, although basically it's one option with different colors. And what this does is it puts a bar in the cell that is proportionate to the value that's in the cell. So over here I've got numbers. Let's turn on the very first one. Whoops, let's turn on the very first one here. And the biggest number I've got is 100. And if you look at 100, the blue bar goes from edge to edge. So that is the biggest number that's in the list, and that is the longest bar. And I think the smallest number in the list is this number 55 right up here, and its bar goes a little over halfway across. So if let's just change this quickly. Let's put a 25 in there. That should go about a fourth of the way across. Okay, I'm going to undo that with a Control-Z. So you get a bar that's proportional to the length or the value that's in the cell. And, it doesn't matter what the values are in there. It'll look at the biggest one, and that'll get the longest bar, and then everything else will be proportionate to that. So let's go back over here, and let's go to our data bars, and we should get a live preview here as we do this. And you see the only thing that's changing is not the size of the bar, but the color. And the top 6 options here, you get a gradient color. If you go down below, you get a solid color, and that's it. It's basically 12 different ways of doing the same thing. Okay. Now let's go to color scales down here. And if I do color scales, now this is kind of interesting. You can have more than one conditional formatting rule applied at the same time. So you notice as I get the live preview here, and I've still got my bars over there, and I think it's starting to get a little confusing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to clear rules, and we're going to clear them either from the selected cells or from the entire sheet. In this case, they're the same. So we will clear our rules. It'll leave our selection intact here. And now let's go up to conditional formatting again. And let's go to color scales. And I am not a fan of these at all. And the reason I'm not is because, take a look at the first one here. Green is the big number. So if you look over there on the left side, I'll click on it to select it. 100 is a big number, 93 is a big number, so numbers in the 90s here are all going to be in green. And the low end, remember 55 was my smallest number, those are going to be red. And in the middle, we're going to get yellow numbers, so anything that's yellow here is kind of in the middle. So let's go back over here to conditional formatting. Let's go to our color scales. And the problem is that if we switch from this one to this one, it's the exact same color scale except they're reversed. And so you have to remember which color is the high ones, which one is the low ones. I suppose that's not too hard to figure out if you just look at the numbers, but not a big fan of any of these for that reason. They all do basically the same thing. It's just that they use different colors instead. So that's how that one works. Probably not going to use it. At least I don't use it. Let's go down here and clear the rules again. And let's go back and take a look at another option. Let's look at icon sets. And what this will do is it'll put a little icon in the cell for you. And if the number is big, then it will get a arrow pointing up that's green. If it's in the middle, it will get an arrow pointing to the right. And if it's in the bottom, it will use an arrow that points down. And if you look over there, you see we've got quite a few green arrows. It looks like we have more green arrows than we have any other color. So Excel does not exactly divide them up into thirds. I don't know what algorithm it uses, but it's going to divide them up into what it considers a high group, a middle group, and a bottom group, and you'll get the appropriate arrow. Let's go back to conditional formatting here, and let's take a look at some other icon sets. And you see they're basically all just variations. Anything that's got three choices here, we've got, a high and a middle and a low. Here they're uncolored, high, middle, low. This gives us both a color and a shape. Over here, we just get a shape. Down here, we can use different shapes instead of arrows. We got some other indicators down here, and then we got some bars and stuff down here. So those are the options for icon sets. And let's go back, and I've applied one of these now. Let's go back over here to manage our clear rules, and we will clear the rules from the selected cells. And now let's take a look at our highlight cells rules. Okay, so this will let you specify a rule about which cells that you want to be highlighted. So let's say that in this example, I'm concerned about who's doing poorly in the class, and let's say that doing poorly is anything that is less than 70. Okay, so let's go over here and we'll choose a less than rule, and we get the little dialog box that pops up here. And 77.5 is the default. I'm not sure how Excel comes up with that. That's not the it's not the mean. It's not the median. It's somewhere near the middle. But we're going to write on top of it anyway. So delete that and just put a 70 there. And it's going to highlight every number that's less than 70 over here with light red fill and dark red text. Okay. Now there are about 6 predefined options here, and it looks like this does not do a live preview. I have to click on it to select it. So I can do yellow, green, I can just do a red fill, I can do a red text, which doesn't really do much, and I can do a red border, which that does a little bit, but the best one of these is probably this first one right here. That really kind of makes them jump out. The other two do as well. These last three here, or the last two especially, are probably not as useful. But the key thing here is you can make it look any way you want to. So let's click on Custom Format down here at the bottom. And we've got some options here for formatting the cells. Okay. Now we can change the format of the numbers, which I don't think you're going to do very often at all. We can change the font. And you can go in here and you can change the color. So let's pick a color here. And since we've already got red over there, let's try making these blue. And let's make them bold as well. We got a border here, and I don't think the border just draws a skinny line around the outside. You don't have any options here for thicker lines. So this one I don't think really makes them stand out a whole lot either. So let's go. So font I think is the one you might use, make them bold, and the color. And let's go over here to fill, and let's pick a shade of light blue. Let's try this one, and then let's click on OK. And now let's click on OK. And now if you look at the numbers over here, the numbers that are less than 70 really jump out at you. And I'm going to change this to 70. And hit enter, and when I do, it should no longer have the blue highlighting because it no longer fits the rule. So this is dynamic. I'm going to do Control Z here. As the numbers change, the formatting will change depending on whether they go in or out of that particular group. You can also apply more than one rule to the same set of cells. So let's reselect everything that's here in column C. Then let's go to our conditional formatting. We're going to go to Highlight Cells Rules. And I want the ones that are greater than or equal to 90. So this time we're going to try to find ones that are on the other end. So I want to identify those. Well, I want greater than or equal to, and that's not an option here. So notice we've also got some stuff for text and dates. And we've also got more rules down here. So by default, it comes up with format only cells that contain. And this is what you want almost all the time. We're not going to look at the other options here. And what I want is greater than or equal to, and then I'm going to put in the number 90 here in this box. Now, if I were to click on OK right now, it says no format set, so it wouldn't really be doing anything at all. So you have to click on the format button, and you have to decide what you want those to look like. So again, font and fill, I think, are the two ones that will make them jump out the most. So we're going to make the font bold on this. We're going to make it a bright red. And we're going to go to our fill color. I want kind of a light red here, and there actually aren't any shades of red here. So let's go to more colors. I could probably pick orange there, and I'm going to pick one of these kind of pink ones and click on OK. And by the way, if you don't like these colors, you want more choices, you can go to custom here, and you can pick any one of the 16 million colors that are available in Excel. But we're OK with this. Let's click on OK. And now we're back to our new formatting rule dialog box. Let's click on OK. And all of our numbers now that are 90 or above are now highlighted in red and with a pink background. You can apply as many of these rules as you want to as many different areas of your spreadsheet as you want. The one that we skipped up here was top and bottom rules, and that one is basically just a shortcut for doing, greater than or less than, but it lets you do like the top 10 or the top 10% or the bottom 10 or bottom 10% or above and below average. So those are pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we need to do an example of those. So that's basically how conditional formatting works in Excel 2019.